They say the desert will strip you down to your bones. No distractions, no comfort, just the truth. And if you're crazy enough to run across the state of Utah, 421 miles of dust, mountains, heat, and self-doubt, you either come out broken or come out rebuilt. In this episode, we talk to someone who went in with muscles but came out with miles in his soul. Mason Wright, better known as the Buff Runner, didn't just run across Utah. He ran through injury, exhaustion, isolation, and every mental wall a human can hit. And he's not done yet. Cue that intro music. Welcome back to the Ostrich Running Podcast, where we get weird with big miles,
super weird,
big challenges, and the people crazy enough to chase them. Today's
a big one.
It is a big one. It's a big one. This is my co-host, Jarrett the Juice Horton, with me as always. And today we are rejoined by the Buff Runner himself, Mason Wright. If you've seen his content, you know he's built like a tank, but you might not know, or what you might not know,
is what you might not know.
It's what you might not know. You know what? I'm not even going to edit that out because who cares? Yeah. What you might not know is how much heart, grit, and discipline went into his most recent feat, running across the entire state of Utah.
He freaking did it.
He did it. 421 miles on
Holy
foot.
crap.
Let us go. Let's go, Buff Runner. Mason Wright, congratulations. Welcome back to the show.
How many people can say they ran across the state?
Not too many, but we're going to hear from one today. Mason, welcome back to the show. We're so proud of you. We're so excited.
Let's go.
Yep. Yes. Standing ovation.
Standing
I'm wearing
ovation.
pants. I'm wearing
421 miles.
Good job, sir.
Let's go.
We're so happy to have you back. Welcome back, man.
This is incredible.
For those listeners who haven't had the pleasure of meeting you, who are you?
Who are?
I am the Buff Runner, and I do crazy things for God knows what reason, and they're just going to continue to get crazier.
I hope we can find out what the reason is eventually, but only time will tell.
Only time will tell.
So as we mentioned, you just ran across the state of Utah, 421 miles, border to border. How long did that take you?
10 days.
Oh my
God. The total time, including like sleeping, rest, everything, was 9 days, 17 hours, and was it 56 minutes? Something like that.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand. That's almost 50 miles.
Yeah, it was. So this is what's crazy, and we're going to get into it, because when we talked to you before, there was what we all have in life, a plan on paper,
right,
that's supposed to work. But whatever you put on paper is never what comes out as the end result, no matter how hard or how much you try. And I think in the first maybe day or two, we see you had a little trouble with that Achilles. How did that go? What happened?
Yeah, so the first 2 days were honestly great. Like the first 2 days are why everything blew up. I just pushed too hard, too fast. But yeah, so day 3, I ended up with a calf issue in my left leg. And I think part of it, like, as I think back on it, I think like I was more scared when that happened.
Yeah.
I probably could have run just fine. Like, I think I was just in my head on day 3. But it was day 4 that my Achilles and my right leg blew up. And yeah, no, it was bad.
So the calf was on the left leg to start, where you were kind of feeling something wonky, and then the right leg blew up.
Yeah. My right leg, my Achilles was a mess. Like,
do you think you were compensating during that initial time for the calf and started straining more?
No, because this is where, like, it probably was a blessing in disguise that I was kind of in my own head that day, because I didn't really run on day 3. I basically walked for 30 miles on day 3.
Wow.
And, but it kept my stride straight.
How many miles did you run on day 1 and day 2 also?
I did 52 and a half, and then it was 49.8. I should have just gotten, but I wanted to end in like a very specific spot on that day, and it just happened to be 49.8.
Everybody who's watching that, like who has OCD, was probably freaking out, like, get to the 50, get to the 50 already.
It just was like I just wanted to end in a very specific spot. There's a big arch with an eagle on the top of it in Salt Lake City, right at the base of Capitol Hill. And I wanted to end right underneath that. So that's what I did.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was day 1 and day 2. And then day 3 was 30. Day 4 was 38.
38.
God.
Yeah, but that was when my Achilles started to blow up, was on day 4. And it gave me a bunch of problems.
What was going through your mind? I mean, you mentioned you were feeling great on day 1. What was going through your mind? How did you feel? What was Mason's mindset like? Nervous, scared, excited? Walk us through day 1.
Yeah, it was a lot. Like coming into the run, before I even clicked start on my watch, I was just like, what the hell am I doing here? Like, right. I haven't, like, what am I doing? Like, just like your pre-race nerves, but times it by 10 because it's 10 times, if this is sense of,
exactly.
Or 4 times, whatever. Like,
right.
It's so much bigger. So just amplify those nerves even more of like, what am I really stepping into here? It was 20 degrees. And so it was freezing cold.
What was the temperature? Yeah.
Yeah. So the first day, it's funny, the temperature difference. We went from 20 to 90 degrees between like the whole run. But it was also it was in farmland. And so it was really humid. And so it just like, humid cold just cuts through.
Yeah.
And I mean, you guys know, like when you go, camping by a lake and you wake up in that like crisp morning air.
Yep.
Right.
Thick.
But it was 20 degrees. So it was just absolutely freezing cold. It just cut through everything. I had all my clothes. I had all my cold gear on. I had everything on that I was, that I needed to wear to stay warm. But it just, when it's that cold, there's not much you can do.
Fortunately, it had been very cold for you leading up to that, right? But unfortunately, it had been so cold that 90 degrees hits different when all you've been sitting.
That, right?
Yeah, that's its own problem. But yeah, that cold, like it got to my head. And you guys know, like you kind of, when you get really those pre-race nerves, you get a little jittery.
Yeah.
Right.
I hadn't even taken caffeine, but it felt like I drank 5 cups of coffee. And then you also add in a shivering from the cold, and everything was amplified. Yeah. Everything was amplified. So I was really in my head for the first like 10 miles, just like questioning what I was doing. I was freezing. The sun hadn't come up. Like, I was just like questioning everything for the first like 10 miles. But we got into this little town, and I had to go to the bathroom, and we pulled up to this just like market. I think they had a gas pump out front. I don't know. It was in the middle of nowhere. I can't even remember if they had a gas pump, but then like we were having some issues with our water tank. So we had to get just gallons of water. So we literally at a time would have like 15 individual gallons of water just all over the floor in the van.
Oh my gosh.
But we had to get a bunch of water there, and I walk in to go to the bathroom, and there's this long table. They cleared like shelves and stuff out of the way. And there's this long table with like 15 farmers just sitting around this table. And I just like stopped, and like they all just like turned their heads and stared at me. And I was just like, what is going on?
Where are you at, boy?
Yeah. No, it was so funny.
Oh my gosh.
After that, the day got much better, but it gave me a good laugh, and the sun had come up at this point and it warmed up, but it was just a funny little thing that happened. I like crashed this meeting.
Day 1, the water pump goes out on the van too?
No, the water pump didn't go out. So we, the previous, because it was a rental van, it was a van they had just gotten in. And so it was still like winterized. So I had to de-winterize it, but not the van rental place, the previous owners didn't winterize it properly. And so it was like impossible to get all the antifreeze out of the system without doing a flush. And so like I was drinking the first like bit of water out of it. I'm like, guys, this tastes like ass. It is so bad. And it was because there was still antifreeze lingering in the system that we couldn't get out.
Oh my God.
So we would use it to wash dishes and stuff because it was such a small amount. Like the water ran clear. Like it was, it wasn't anything.
Just when you drank it, you knew something was off.
Well, and honestly, probably if I had drank it, a lot of it probably wouldn't have gone over well.
I was going to say you would have slowly poisoned yourself for 10 days and died.
Right, just passed out.
Yes.
Of course, I'm sure that's exactly what you had planned for in your race plan, right?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so nothing was wrong with the van. It just wasn't. It was just the previous owners messed something up, and so it left us with a mess. But it was, we spent $300 on water, but what do you do?
yeah, exactly. So you get, that calf thing, the Achilles deal, right? Obviously that sows some doubt in your mind, right? Was there a dark moment sitting in the hotel room? Also, by the way, is it Jeffrey who was there with you?
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that guy.
Everyone
after that, I was like, I'm following him. I love this dude. He's amazing. His updates were so perfect. Just his sweet little voice coming in like, okay, here we are. It was perfect. But I know that there's a moment there where you question everything with that injury. You had to think
about stopping, right?
Yeah. Did that come across your mind? Like, do I stop? Am I going to be able to do this? How did you push past that? What was that day like? What was that moment like?
I don't think I ever had a moment of like truly feeling like I wanted to quit. There were moments where I thought maybe it was over because of X, Y, or Z. But as far as like actually wanting to quit, I never had any true feelings. I had plenty of moments where I was like, fuck this.
Yeah.
Like this sucks. And like, why did I do this? And, whatever. But I never had a moment, like a genuine moment where I had to be like convinced not to quit or, there were moments that I wanted to end days early and Jeffrey and Tanner would have to talk me out of it.
Nice.
But again, there wasn't a moment where I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Was there a moment?
Was it like painful every step?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There wasn't a moment except outside of the first and second day. There wasn't a single moment where I didn't have pain every step that I took.
Wow. So, I mean, even talking with you from our last interview, right? You'll kill yourself before you stop, right? We all know that. Was there a moment that your crew was like, dude, do we need to break for a second because you're gonna really...
I mean, there were quite a few. And I think Tanner had less experience with this stuff. He's not a runner. Tanner's not a runner. He'd never crewed or done anything. So there were a lot more of those moments from Tanner, just because he hadn't experienced even half of, like, he hadn't even experienced like what it's like crewing for a 50 miler,
Yeah, that would be me.
Way to traumatize Tanner, by the way. Jesus.
I know. Jeffrey thankfully has some experience with like stage races. Like he's done, I think they call it like the Trans Rockies, where you run like 20 miles a day for a couple days. So like he had some experience doing like multi-day stuff. So he hiked the PCT and he's done some of these like multi-day things. So he has experience with this stuff. Yeah. So he was a little less with that. But yeah, there were Jeffrey kind of let me go with the flow for most of it. But the end of day 6, like Jeffrey was fully preparing. Like he had gathered like all the information he needed to basically cancel everything for the rest of the trip.
Wow.
He had fully prepared for it to be over the night of day 6. And so for sure. Like,
what was that conversation like?
There wasn't a conversation.
No conversation?
I had completely disassociated from that moment. You guys will have to wait for the documentary. I'm not going to spoil this one.
I'm glad. I really want to. And that's another thing that I'm so excited for it to come out. And I don't want to give any spoilers. So, when is that? When do you plan on having that released? June?
June.
Yeah, June.
Okay.
We're working on it right now. We've been doing some filming in here, like some of the interview stuff, like post-run stuff. And
amazing. Title for it yet?
I'm not sure yet.
Okay.
It might just be Run Across Utah.
Yeah, I like it.
I don't think it needs to have any fancy title. I think.
Exactly. And the reason why I ask is so I can make sure that our listeners keep an eye out for it. But definitely, we're a big fan of yours. So as soon as you give us that information, we're going to promote that for you as much as we can because it's such a crazy journey. Now I'm ready to
run across California.
Oh my gosh, no! But I know who I'm going to talk to.
That's on my list.
That's on your list?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then, look, maybe we talk about doing it later together because I'm going to need somebody with experience of multi-day, events at least. And
are you going to run across, or are you going to run from the top to the bottom?
I know what I do want to do, and we talked about this last time. I want to get into this later. You do have a transcon coming up, right? What day is that? Yeah. What day is that supposed to start?
Well, if we want to talk about it now, we can, but some things have changed.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Let's talk about it later. But whenever that does come up, I plan on sharing many miles with you on that. So please, sign me up for a section. and I definitely want to be out there. So back to kind of this run across Utah, right? The darkest mental moments, we just, I think disassociating was the way that you kind of got yourself out of it. But what surprised you the most about this run, whether that be personally or, anything?
Yeah, the human body can go so far.
Yeah.
We put so many limitations on ourselves, and you just have to be willing to push. Yeah. And it's also just comes out of the fact that we can keep going. When I got to day 10, I didn't want to quit. I didn't want to stop. I did not want it to be over. I could have not easily, but I could have kept running.
Wow.
I could have kept going. You can push the body so far. And I think that's something that we have to remind ourselves of, is how far we can actually push and to not set those limitations on ourselves.
Yeah.
As far as a day and a moment, it was day 7. Day 7 was like, holy shit, what just happened? And the final day, the final day, while I could have kept going, the final day I pushed, normally, like, most of my days were falling around like 40, 45 miles, somewhere in that range. Mm-hmm. And the final day I was like, I don't want to extend this another day.
Yeah.
I'm not going to I've killed myself for 10 days. I'm not going to have the final day be 20 miles. That's a joke. Like, like, no way. Like, I'm going to end this with a bang. And so I pushed for 56 miles on the final day and ran until 1 a.m. so that I could finish. And it's like, that's, it just, like, I didn't want to stop. I just want to keep going.
Where do you mentally go to push yourself through that pain? Because a lot of people can't do that. They would have quit. Like, what do you think about?
This is like, I think there's a level of like, that like built different mentality of like, some people you have it or you don't, mm-hmm. but you also can build it. But then there's also like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I think part of it is I just kind of have a switch, and I'm just lucky enough to have that switch. And I think part of it comes from like childhood trauma and different things that allowed me to like tap into a side of my brain that not everybody can tap into.
Yeah.
But there's also another level to it that I don't think I figured out yet as to like how, like, because like I said, there really wasn't a moment that I felt like quitting.
Yeah.
There were moments when I was like, this sucks ass, but it also was just the thing that like, I signed up for this.
Yeah.
So why the hell would I quit? Yeah. Now, obviously, if I'd had an actual injury, I'm not going to be an idiot.
Yeah.
I'm not going to run on a broken leg. I'm not going to like, I'm not going to do dumb things like that. Like when we had, that moment that Jeffrey was preparing to quit, like, or not for him to quit, but he was like prepared for this to end. Like in that moment, like even understanding where I was at physically, I still was like, let's just see how tomorrow goes.
Yeah.
But in that moment, I understood that there are physical limits that exist.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, if I've hit that physical limit, then that sucks. But, I also understood that like, I'm not going to cause permanent damage for like.
You say that now, Mason, but I don't know. Something tells me that
there was some permanent damage.
You're going to cause some permanent damage somewhere. You're like, we'll just see how tomorrow goes. Like, but the
probably
foot is hanging off.
Right.
Yeah. And when I meant like, see how tomorrow goes, it's like, we're like, let's sleep on this. Yeah. Let's wake up. And like, I'm not going to run a whole day. Like I would have found out within the first few miles.
Yeah.
What was going on. And so like, that's what I meant by like, let's just see how tomorrow goes. Like, let's give it a few miles tomorrow. And if that's it, then that's it. But if not, we're going to keep going.
Yeah.
Did you have to ice like crazy at night? Like what was it?
No. So yeah. So I'll give you the nightly routine. Mm-hmm. So every day we'd finish around 7 to 8 PM, somewhere in that time zone or time range. It just depended on how many miles I was at, where I was at physically, mentally, different things like that. 7 to 8 PM was the range. Yeah. And then we would drive to whatever campsite we were staying at. A couple of nights we just pulled off to the side of the road and slept on the side of the road. And then from there, we'd get back to camp and Jeffrey would start cooking and I would go shower. And when I was done showering, we'd eat dinner. I would then get a massage where Jeffrey or Tanner would massage my feet and my legs. We'd work on my Achilles. We worked on my Achilles. Every 4 to 10 miles, I would stop and get a full like calf and Achilles massage to like
with the scraping and all that.
With all of it. And like, I would get this like sack of like fluid that would form behind my Achilles tendon that Jeffrey would physically have to like break. Because it was just causing so much pressure. It hurt so bad every time. You guys saw some of the videos, I'm sure. I'm just like,
I'm seeing
it hurt so bad.
Scream. Like,
it was brutal. But yeah, so we would do that, and then I would get in the Normatec boots, and I would sit in the Normatec boots for 30 to 45 minutes. Eventually, I actually wasn't able to use the Normatec boots because my blisters were so bad. They would compress my blisters and hurt so bad that I couldn't sit in the Normatec boots. Oh my gosh. So after day 7, starting night of day 7, I wasn't able to sit in the Normatec boots anymore. Day 6, I powered through the pain, but it was hell. Day 6, I didn't even use the Normatec boots. That's a whole, again, you just got to wait for the documentary. For sure. But yes, but that's what I would do. And while I was sitting there, I would post the photo carousel that you guys kind of saw. It was my journal entry. That's what I used those posts at were.
Nice.
I used those posts as a journal entry for myself. And it was a way to like really express the emotions and the feelings and the pain and everything that was kind of behind it. Yeah. Because I literally would just sit down and type as if I was writing in a journal, as if I wasn't ever going to share this with anyone else. And so that's how I wrote those posts, was to make them as very raw and real as possible. And so that's what I would do at that point at the end of the day, and then go to bed and wake up at 5 a.m. and start anew.
Yeah. So obviously a crew is a big part of, the success, but I want to hear from you, what was it like to have your crew out there and with you and going through this with you? I mean, how much did that lift you up and drive you and continuing to push?
They say running is an individual sport, but it is a team sport. At least ultra running is. You can't do it without your team. And I couldn't have done this without them. Like how much they supported me, and not just physically, but mentally, emotionally. I couldn't have done it. I could not have done it without that.
What was the relationship between you and your crew prior to this experience compared to post? Was it much like going to battle with some of your soldiers? I didn't even
think about it like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Like it really did feel like, I think going to battle is a good way to put it. Like we, Jeffrey and I had known each other. We'd only met one time in person, and it was from across a parking lot. I literally was at a Cafe Rio here in Utah, and I recognized him from TikTok. I was like, "Hey, you're that guy that makes TikToks." He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Cool." And then I went and got my food and he left. And it was like across the parking lot. And then I messaged him on Instagram and we've just kind of stayed connected and stayed friends since then. Tanner, I knew him in high school, kind of. He was a year older than me. I like kind of knew who he was, but like we never were friends. But then we connected after high school and he did a lot of photography for my supplement company.
Very
and
cool.
then from there, we've just kind of stayed friends and stayed connected from there. But like we were all like, you know, Jeffrey and I were friends. Tanner and I were pretty good friends, but now we're just like a knit group. Yeah. We still talk in the group chat and
that's awesome.
Like all that stuff.
Like
so yeah, no, it's
now.
Yeah. You know,
you have to depend on somebody like that to get through.
Yeah.
Well, then you lock 2 people in a van for 10 days.
Right. That too.
They kind of have to get along. So
yeah, exactly. You know, well, being in the Navy, right? You lock us up on a ship for 6, 7, 8, 9 months. We start to hate each other after a while. But, you know, now there isn't a moment that I will never not answer a call from somebody I went through certain things with, right? It could be years that we go without talking and I see something happen and we're right back there. We're always like in that brotherhood and supporting each other. So that's going to be a lifetime, you know, relationship that you guys have, you know, regardless of what happens, just always being there for each other, reminiscing on that. I think it's just awesome. And I bring that up because I do, want people to know that our crew is definitely what helps us. I mean, my wife, in between,
your family,
crew, right? Crew, whoever it is.
My wife, my wife is the number one because she not only puts up with all my bullshit during all my training, because it's not just the running, it's the training.
Yeah, the healing, but just after you're done too.
Yeah, well, and she's just supporting through all of this. She encouraged me to run the Salt Lake City Marathon right after.
Did you know he did that, by the way?
No, I did not know he did that.
I was going to bring that up. I was like,
how soon after?
Days, dude, like a week, not even a week, right?
It was 10 days. Yeah.
That is insane. What is
I watched this guy and I only imagine what his body was feeling like in there. And obviously with a ton of bathroom breaks. Oh
my gosh, dude. Okay. We got to talk about this for a second. So I had to go to the bathroom 4 times during the marathon and they were all bad. Like, like not just like I gotta take a piss. Like, we were in there for 10 minutes. Like, you know, and I ran a 4-hour marathon. I think I genuinely could have cranked out a 3:30 marathon if I didn't have to go to the bathroom as many times as I did. I was flying. I was cruising. Yeah.
I know. I couldn't believe the speed that you were going through. And like, obviously when you said, okay, I stopped a bunch of times for the restroom, but I'm like, first off, like, dude, you're crazy, man. Like, I can only imagine like how your heart rate was probably so spiked up, like just overworking. Nothing.
No, I was chilling. I think like something that I think is really cool and this is what I mean by the human body is so cool is like my body adjusted.
Yeah.
Right.
My body adjusted. When I got to day 10, I was less sore than I was on day 7.
Wow.
Even though I was in a ton of pain,
right?
But like my body had adjusted, and I think that adjustment followed into where I'm at now, where like 10 days post, I was fine.
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of stability in my legs. Like that was a problem. Mm-hmm. Like I tried going trail running and I almost fell over because I couldn't, like if I stepped on a rock, it would like, I didn't have any stability in my legs.
Yeah. The stability muscles were just shot at that point.
So like there were still things like that, but my body was in such a good place.
Yeah.
And like one thing when I was running across Utah is, you know, this wasn't something I was sitting there like staring at my watch thinking about my heart rate, but I mentally knew my heart rate needed to stay below 130 beats per minute. Mm-hmm. If I am to make this sustainable, I have to be in like zone 1, zone 2. It's the only way that this is sustainable. And so I kept my average heart rate for the whole run was 115 beats per minute.
Dang.
That was my average heart rate for the whole run. So I did put a lot of strain on my heart, but I didn't put excessive strain on my heart. And so it was really, I didn't have to recover this. Mm-hmm. I only had to recover the muscles, and muscles recover quickly.
Yeah. And that, what did you use to fuel? What was the days like? How many calories were you consuming a day? What did it consist of?
Yeah. So I consumed anywhere from 8,500 to 12,000 calories a day.
Yeah.
And it was a mix
just trying to
of,
stay buff.
yeah, it was a mix of everything. I mean, you name it, I was eating it. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
What was your
chips.
favorite? After a while, what was your favorite like go-to fueling that you were just
So
like,
there's a company here in Salt Lake. They sell cookies online. So you guys should try them because they're phenomenal.
Okay.
But they're called Raw Eddies.
okay.
And yeah, they're fantastic. And she sponsored the run and she gave me 75 bags of cookies and we left with like, I think like 12 or 15 left. Like I ate that many bags of cookies.
Holy crap. Are these like healthy cookies or they're just straight up sugar? Like,
Let me, I got some right here.
okay.
Look at, he's still snacking on them. So look at, Raw Eddies still can eat after a 421 mile run.
God. I
This
want to
is
know what
awesome.
he ate at night too.
Yeah.
Like,
But yeah, so
what's the meal?
this is like, these are the cookies. These are one of their bites. Like this is the double chocolate bite, but she also has cookies. But yes, they're made with. This is something that's crazy. They're vegan and gluten free.
Oh, okay.
They taste unbelievable. Like even before I was vegan, I'm not vegan, but I went vegan for a bit. But even before I was vegan and my diet now, they were phenomenal. But she makes them with mushrooms and ashwagandha and like all these different things, and they taste so good. So good. I love them.
I want to try these.
Okay.
You can buy them online.
Yeah,
Raw
what place?
Eddies.
I'm gonna order you a bag online.
All right.
And I'm gonna use code BuffRunner. And I'm just kidding.
But yeah, I ate a ton of those. I had these Vietnamese scallion pancakes from Trader Joe's. I bought 12 packs of those, and I think I ate 8 packs of them. And there's like 5 of them in each pack, and like each pancake's like 400 calories. So I ate a ton of those.
So a lot of solid food, right?
Oh yeah, I didn't eat any goose. Not one.
Wow. Good job.
Not one goo.
That probably saved your stomach.
Yes, and then my favorite meal was literally just rice with smoked salmon and soy sauce.
That was the dinner.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, dinners we would do pasta.
Okay. Carb up.
Dinners we would do pasta. We also did that for some dinners. What else did we do? I'm like forgetting. I just like ate. Oh, we would make burritos.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, burritos.
Very cool.
Those were dinners.
That's amazing. And, you know, for the listeners who didn't hear the first episode that we had you with, this was all in support of the single parent project, right? Mason, you know, big supporter of that. I think we both come from a single parent background, and, you know, that was the main mission. How much did that drive you? And, you know, I saw, you know, you had fans out there, you had people coming out and, you know, cheering you on. What was that, motivation from your actual mission of, you know, the Single Parent Foundation? How much did you draw strength from that? What was it like seeing fans out there on the street and a very cool message from a very famous person that I saw your mom send you as well? What was all that like?
Yeah, we'll start with the cool message. Yeah, David Goggins. My mom was in Vegas, and she was just visiting a friend. Her friend needed some help with some stuff, and they were getting finished up with an appointment. And as they were leaving the appointment, David Goggins ran right past him. And so it was actually my mom's friend that recognized him, was like, holy shit, that's David Goggins. We got to like go say something to him. And as they pulled up, thankfully they hit a stoplight together. And so my mom just rolls down the window and was like, hey, my son, he's running across the state of Utah. He is such a big fan of yours. He's currently running 400 miles. And I know that he'd want you to hear that. And David Goggins just said, send him my respect.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Which is just huge. I mean,
that says a lot coming from that man, you know, just to get that.
No, it was epic. It was like one of the biggest highlights of the run. And it was also on the most mentally difficult day as well. I just broke down crying when I got the message.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it was super cool.
So then
yeah. And then the single parent project, this isn't just like about giving back, there's like a part of me that like wants to give back to my mom for like everything that she did, which she can never do. And so, I want to give back to the community as a whole and help support those who didn't get help. Like we had family help, we had some family support, and not saying my mom didn't have to work her ass off, but like we didn't have to rely on like a woman's shelter. We didn't have to rely on government assistance as much. Like there were times that we did, but it wasn't like we were stuck in that cycle.
Yeah.
And so I want to be able to help those that are in that cycle, but it's also bringing awareness to the fact of how hard single parents work. They get forgotten because they do work so hard.
Yeah.
So of course they're going to get forgotten because they're working so hard. So people don't think they need help.
Yeah.
But they don't get a choice.
Yeah.
Like they don't get a choice. And that was the whole mission behind this, is like, I had the choice to wake up every day.
Yeah.
At any given moment, I could have quit and no one would have cared. No one would have cared that I quit. Like no one, like if, I made it to mile 300 and that was it, no one would have cared.
Yeah.
Everyone would have been like, wow, you just ran 300 miles. Like, great job. But the whole point was getting up every day because I had the choice, because I can, and also bringing to light that like the amount of work that I put in, no matter how much pain I was in, no matter how much I was struggling, like that's what single parents do.
Yeah. Just
every day.
A little
And they don't get the choice to get up. They don't get they don't get a choice.
Yeah. You got
I got the choice.
They got to get up and run those 50 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love that, it's so funny that you also kind of downplay because people who've gone through these things, right, where you're saying, well, look, I didn't go through it, because we always look for other stories like, well, there's other people who have it way worse, right? But you have gone through some things, and I appreciate that you share what you've gone through, and other people appreciate and relate to it. I think it's such a great message. I think it's
helping others now.
Yeah, I mean, and what a better way to utilize the voice that you've created. You've put a lot of hard work in, and this is another reason why we're a big fan of you. Clearly, your dedication to training also translates into your personal life, because we see you professionally, the way you manage everything, the projects you put together, the website, everything that you're doing is very professional and dedicated, and a lot of grit and grind goes into it. And it is seen from fellow entrepreneurs and people who appreciate the hard work you put in. So, I mean, another round of applause for you aside from that. But I think just everything that you're doing is great. And it's why we're such a big fan of you, Mason. And I'm so happy to have you back on here. The Single Parent Project, if you hadn't had a chance to check it out, I'll link the show notes in the bio. It's a great thing. It's a great organization. This is what Mason was really supporting with this 421 mile run. So, you mentioned that your body responded really well in the post weeks after this run. Is there something that you can personally attribute that to? I know even your training block going into this run, you were injured. So, I mean, what was it? What do you think? Is it fueling? Is it the workouts that you still got in, or being built different?
It's all of the above. Like, is a blessing in disguise being injured, because I ran through so much pain that when I got out there, I'm like, oh, I've done this.
Right.
True.
I can keep doing this. Like, I've done this. And so in a way, it was a blessing in disguise. And so there was that. My nutrition is 80% of it. Like, I'm a dietitian. You guys know this. And
yes,
like, that's everything. Like, my nutrition was dialed. I only had one point that I got nauseous on the entire run, and it was my fault. I did it to myself. Like, it was just me being lazy. That's why. And so I drank just too much Tailwind, and I was just relying on it too much, just because I was being lazy. And so like my nutrition was dialed pre-run, during the run, post-run. And so nutrition is a huge part of it. That's why I love working with athletes too, just because I can help other people do that same thing. And then you also just have you have to build different factor, like that mentality of just being able to just get up and do the work.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, I like that you mentioned that. I mean, I suffer I'm probably going to just have to do a consultation with you on my own work one-on-one because
Did you
that's
finish
another
the
thing.
whole thing of donuts yesterday?
We're not going to talk about that. All right, dude. I didn't finish the whole thing of donuts. He's going to put me on blast right here. Anyway, I've had these stomach issues through many races, right? That is one thing that troubles me quite often. We've talked about this. I know it's the diet. I know it's bad, but that you mentioned that you drank too much Tailwind and that's what got you nauseous. And it just had me thinking like, man, I rely heavily on these liquid carb drinks and a lot. And I have stomach issues. So yeah, this is something that, I think most people probably should consider if you're out there, struggling with stomach issues on races. There's probably a lot more going on with the diet, and people like Mason could definitely figure that out for you.
Like
and
you said, diet is everything.
Yeah, this is a debate
80%.
we've been having for years. Aside from the running thing, just life in general, we have this diet debate, and of course, I eat like crap and I pay for it. He has his own views. I have my own views. But yeah, I think it's always smart to reach out to somebody who's got more knowledge than you and get the help, so somebody like Mason can definitely, help you dial that in. Again, we'll link his site in the show notes, but,
well, Mason, what do you think you did wrong before the marathon to mess up your stomach?
Yeah.
Wait, before the marathon?
Yeah. The
You
marathon.
Yes.
You said
Part of it was I didn't
21 miles, Jarrett. What do you think I did?
Yeah, I was like, what are you talking about? So part of it was the dinner before. It just someone did not. I'm not 100% sure what it was. I think I ate too many mushrooms with the dinner that I had the night before. That started it, and then the group I was going to run the marathon with, we kind of all went up together, but they were all running late, and I have to do my pre-run poop.
Yeah,
I have to.
Always. It's classic.
And I didn't get to. Because we got there and the race started. Literally not even a warm up. We pulled up to the corral and started. And so I think that is what tipped it. Is I ran needing to go.
Yeah.
Which then just when you run, it kind of flushes the system, and so I think it just sent me into a spiral. So it was a mix of things. Part of it was out of my control, and then also part of it was goose. I don't do goose, but I did goose for the marathon, and then the dinner the night before. So it was a mix of a handful of things. Part of it was out of my control. Part of it was totally my fault.
Yeah. Yeah. And see,
his body probably thought he's going to run another 50.
He's like, please don't do this to me right now.
His body's like, oh God, we got to get ready for this. He's about to run across Utah again. Let's go.
I know how to stop him.
Yeah.
Make him shit himself.
Not stop him. Let's get ready. Let's hurt him on day one, right?
Yeah.
So that he can be ready for the next 8 days.
Yeah, exactly. For Mason, what's coming up next, man? What do you have in the works? What's upcoming now for the next big challenge?
Yeah, when you have 14 hours all by yourself, so this is something we didn't even talk about. I'm going to throw this in here as I transition back into this. I was in so much pain that starting on day 3, I went no caffeine and no music. And I did that until I didn't do any music or any caffeine until I did some music on day 7 because it was just too epic of a moment to not turn on Johnny Cash out in the middle of the desert. And then I didn't start taking caffeine until day 9. So I went a huge chunk of the run with nothing. I just wanted to feel and experience all of the pain because I'd signed up for it. So I'm like, let's experience this. Let's not flush this out. Let's experience this and let's let this change. Let's let it change me.
Embrace it.
And so I then in turn had 14 hours a day all to myself. Because I see my crew every 20 to 30 minutes, but they're not with me, And so I had all this time to myself. So I had a lot of time to think about what I wanted to do next and what was next. And then post run, my body felt so good that I'm like, why the hell stop the train if I don't have to?
There's nothing more dangerous than an ultra marathon runner with trauma and no music and 14 hours alone in his own head.
Dude, it was therapy.
Yeah.
It was therapy. I processed so much. I cried so much out there.
No,
but it opened my eyes to a lot of things of like places I can go with this and like how I can utilize this to explore. Like, why do the big thing next?
Yeah.
Because what's bigger than America that you can realistically do? Like, yeah, sure, I can run across Africa, but I don't want to get kidnapped. So like America is the next big thing.
Yeah.
Or it is the big run. So why have it be my next run? Like, let's explore a bit before we do the big thing. And so this year I'm running an ultra murph on Memorial Day. So in a 20-pound weighted vest, I'm going to run a marathon, 1,000 pull-ups, 2,000 push-ups, 3,000 squats, run a marathon. That's in like a week and a half from now.
Yeah.
I'm literally ordering my weighted vest right after this call because I don't have one. So I got to get it ordered.
Oh my gosh.
And then in July, I'm running with a big group of friends. We're running the Sawtooth Mountain Ridge line, which is 55 miles through the Sawtooth Mountains in Idaho. In August, I'm doing the Trans-Catalina Trail, which is, you guys know, you're in California, so you know Catalina Island.
Yeah,
We're doing the whole,
that 50-mile all fire roads. It's hot out there.
Yeah,
that's a tough one.
Yes. So I'm doing that.
No, I've been invited to do it. I just, again, with kids, it's so hard to like try and hurry up and get that last ferry out so I can get home to my kids on that same day where I'm stuck on the island for a whole day. And my wife and I don't get that much time.
You should have just said, I missed the
ferry. Oh my gosh, I gotta
get shoot.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm not 6 margaritas deep after this. I just missed the ferry.
Yeah. And actually, it's very cool that you bring that up because honestly, that is what attracted me to your page the first time was your running and exploring on these, like before when it was just you out of the back of the van and just these beautiful locations. I think that's amazing. I also don't run with music. Sometimes like I do, like Jarrett and I, he asked me like, well, do you listen to anything? I was like, honestly, sometimes I just like to just hear the, my feet going in there and I get to go into these places in my mind where I'm just talking to myself, answering myself, wondering, letting a thought trail off and go into this deeper moment. And 30 minutes later, you're a few miles down the road and in a completely different portion of what you were originally started thinking about. But I love it because it's just therapy. It's a way for me. Well, we had a therapist, a psychologist on not too long ago. And, I used to think it was disconnecting, and she assured me that you're not disconnecting. You're very much connected when you do this. And so I love that you're going to explore.
I love that feeling.
Yeah, it feels great.
You're not even thinking about running anymore.
So I think you're going to really just explore what America has to offer in these local areas.
It might be the world too. Like, like there's, this doesn't even have to do with what I was saying. This is just like everything I'm doing this year. Like, all of these things Trans-Catalina I was going to do. I've been wanting to do it for a while, but it's expensive to like get out there and do this. So it just hasn't happened because it'd be cheaper to go run the Tahoe 200 than to go run 40 miles across Catalina Island. But
that ferry ride and everything.
It's just so expensive.
If you do come out and you do it,
I am August. That is like the next like big, like if I'm going to do this ultra marathon, we're going to see how the body feels. Mm-hmm. Again, I've never done even with smaller distances, I've never done anything this back to back. So we're going to let this ultra marathon determine if I'm going to do the Sawtooth Mountains. And if I feel good post ultra marathon, then I'll do it. But I'm not going to let anything impact the Trans-Catalina run because that's like,
for sure.
That's like, I really want to do that.
Well, I see Catalina Island on my trail runs when I'm up there. So if you're down here and you need anything, you let me know and I can help you out in any way possible. So,
sounds good.
Don't hesitate to
That'd be
reach
fun
out.
to go out to the island. Maybe you don't run, but we just go.
If I go out there, I'm running, dude.
Why not?
Just come join me.
Yeah. We'll all go.
Just run 10 miles up, meet me. And because I'm running from, so we're taking the bow into Two Harbors and then I'm running from Two Harbors to Avalon.
Yeah.
So you guys should come over and just like meet me like up the trail and then we'll just like finish it together.
Oh gosh, that's how we're going to do it. He said he'll do a mile. Okay. Well, what we do is we make him go in a spot where he has no choice but to run 15 miles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
But so But then after that in October, I have not announced this yet, and so I'm not going to say anything here.
That's perfect.
Only my coach and my wife know that I'm doing this, but I have a really big thing in October for the whole month of October.
We'll be waiting.
That I'm really excited
What could
for.
be bigger than running across Utah?
I don't think this one's bigger, but it's
okay.
But like it's longer. Yeah, it's a
gosh.
You'll see. You'll
Don't give
see.
any more.
See,
No
I
more.
got a clue.
We don't
I
want
got a
the
clue
internet
already.
sleuths over here. Okay. He's like, okay, could be longer.
I'm gonna figure it out.
Okay.
But yeah, so we're doing that in October, and then after that, like this is when the America thing comes into question. I'm just gonna let fate take me to what's next. Whether it's America, running around the country of Iceland, like running around the whole island is on the list. Running the length of California.
Goodbye.
Running from basically Oregon to Mexico, like running the entire length of California is on the list.
You know, Jarrett will be proud of me for asking this question because he always wants to, right?
I think I asked him last time.
I know you say why. Why more? Why more?
Why further?
Have you any other answers come to your mind now that you've post 421-mile run? And
yeah, you proved yourself, Mason. You did it on this last one. Why?
Apparently,
further?
he has not proven himself to himself yet. Okay, he wants.
It has nothing to do with proving myself,
Okay.
proving anything to myself. It's because I can.
Yeah, so doing it because you can and you're capable and
Like-
taking advantage of what you've been given.
My wife showed me a TikTok last night. She's been following this girl who has brain cancer on TikTok, and unfortunately, she's probably going to die. And it was like she showed me the side by side of her first video, like saying like I have brain cancer, we're going to try and beat this, and then the video of her last night, and she was just like a normal person in the first one, and then in the second one, because of just all the medications and everything, her face, like her eyes were like almost swollen shut, and like like her whole body was like swelled up, and just like she was in so much pain. And it's just like there are so many people that can't do, like there are people who would kill to be doing what I'm doing just so they could experience these parts of life. And it's so many times in life we live life waiting for, like we just live life and we don't experience these things until it's too late, and then we're like, oh my gosh, like why did I not do this? And so why not live life as if you don't know what your next day is going to be?
Yeah.
And so like that's kind of the whole thing behind this, is like it's just because I can. Like you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring you. I could get hit by a car on a training run and never be able to run again.
Yep.
Like I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know. You can have random medical things happen that no matter what you do, no matter how well you take care of yourself, you can still have something like this girl who has brain cancer. Like I could wake up tomorrow with a massive headache, and the headache lasts for weeks, and I could have it.
Yeah.
And even though I've done everything right.
Yeah.
And so you never know what tomorrow's going to bring. So you might as well live life like you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. And so that's the whole thing, is because I can. And there's also so many people who just can't and wish that they could. So why not take advantage of the body that we have?
Yeah. And I went through, I mean, he is surprised every day. He's like, how are you still alive from the life I had lived before? Right.
Yeah.
And I too, when I get on these runs and I'm out there,
shape too.
well, it took work, but like, you know, I get to these views, like I mentioned, I could see Catalina from some of my trail runs, right? And it's these sunrises coming up, and I take these moments. I'm like, man, I'm so grateful that, you know, I decided to change my life, that I decided to really treat my body better, and also coming from a guy who's had a life full of experiences. These are just unique all on their own. Just to sit there and have a different outlook on life. Gratefulness, mindfulness for everything that we do. I am so happy that I get to be out there, even when it sucks. I tell myself, I'm happy. I'm happy that I can do this. I can feel this. Again,
this moment.
Yeah, taking the moment. And you're so 110% correct that there's a lot of people out there who, when they're in those dark days, are probably only wishing that they could just see some of the things and at least have somebody out there enjoying it, you know, because I mean, that's just all going to be, you know, unused, unseen. And
I like how he said, push this body to the max.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, that's firing me up too. I mean, I want to push my body to the max of we all have different max like capabilities.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be 400 miles. It could be shorter. I think that's a misconception is people hear people like me and other people who have done things like this of like, we all say very similar things, and because we all have experienced this and it feels like it's this like universal thing that we kind of all experience, but it doesn't have to be this extreme. Yeah. I'm taking it to the extreme because I can.
Exactly. Yep.
But that your extreme is going to look different than my extreme.
Yeah.
And you also don't have to take it to the extreme. I think that's the misconception is you don't have to take it to the extreme. You just need to use what you have. Yeah. Whether it's your brain, your body, use what you have. So many people, as harsh as this sounds, just waste their lives away.
Yeah.
And don't take advantage of the gift that we have, which is just life.
Yeah.
And so take advantage of it.
Push yourself a little bit outside of your comfort zone, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's like
comfort's a beautiful place, but nothing grows there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And, we just had a conversation with another guest, right? Started running 0.15 miles at a time.
Yep.
Consistently, but that was pushing it for them. And it was, pushing their boundaries. I mean, obviously they're doing a lot more miles now, and we start unlocking this potential, when 0.15 miles turns into 50 miles, it's a crazy growth because at least that 0.15 miles was something, right? And you don't know what it can grow into. It could be something short, long,
So this is a surreal moment that happened on the run. I didn't even realize it just like happened. As I was running through Ogden, this was on day 2, kind of the morning-ish time of day 2. I ran past the gym because I used to live up in Ogden here in Utah. And the gym that I went to that I would work out at that was down the street from my apartment was the first place that I went for my first run. And it was crazy running past that gym because I ran half a mile on the treadmill and I passed out. Literally, I passed out on the treadmill. Because half a mile was so physically exhausting that I passed out. Wow. And I was, at this point, I'm like 65 miles into this run of, and it's just like, it was just such a surreal moment of like 8.5 years ago, I was a fat guy on a treadmill who could barely run half a mile. Wow. And now I'm out here running 400. And so it's like, it was a pretty surreal moment that I didn't even mean to happen. Like I just happened to run past that
was
gym.
Never like on the path. It just like happened that.
I even just like took a random picture of it on my phone, and I don't even think I posted it on my story because it was such a shitty picture. But like, I just took that picture as like a reminder for myself of like, it really like it was 2017. Like,
right, I might have to go out there and run a little bit now.
Get out there, dude. I keep telling him.
Just like 3 miles.
Yeah, so he's like, I just do a mile and I walk a mile. And I was like, Jared, try 3, dude. I mean, you can do it.
Soccer, but now I just feel like I gotta see.
There's a little bit, there's a little bit something, on that, just a little bit past that 8 minutes, 9. Well, you probably run it faster.
I mean, I think I do it in like 7.
Yeah, which is pretty good for a non-runner.
Well, and you don't have to like. Again, it doesn't have to lead to 400 miles. It can lead to a 5K. It just like, just do it.
Yeah.
I think it's like the best way to put it.
Yeah, it's amazing. And, I don't want to take up more of your time, but
Holy crap.
we'll keep an eye out. I really wanted to catch up with you because it was such a big feat. We were so proud of you that I wanted to give you a little moment to come. Well, it was really for us.
Yeah, you gave me a moment.
It was more selfish for us. Like, can we talk with him and just see how that went, see what he went through? So, we're excited. All of our listeners, keep an eye out for that documentary coming out. Untitled at the moment, but the moment we find out what it is, follow Mason Wright at Buff Runner on Instagram. Is there any last thoughts that you have? Anything you wanted to share?
No, I think we shared it all. I mean, the last message is just like do it because you can. And you versus you. That was a big thing I learned.
Yeah. You versus
everything
you.
in life is you versus you. Yep. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter if someone is physically holding you back. It's still you versus you.
Yeah.
Well, Nick, it's you versus those donuts that you keep eating, actually.
Don't tell him how many donuts I eat, dude. And he's gonna really. And when I go do my consultation with him, I'm like, hey, he's like, how many donuts do you eat? Like one maybe. And he's like, actually, Jarrett already emailed me everything that you eat, and then it'll be 15 pages of crap. So, all right. And you know, that might be pushing it for myself too, right? Like even if it starts with a diet, it doesn't have to be miles. It could be, you know, eating healthy a day at a time, or 2 days, you know, and
like he said, it might not be running.
It
for
might
somebody
not be
else,
running.
It's something else.
Yeah, exactly.
Something else that you're pushing yourself.
I know. Yeah. We're going to talk after that. But again, grateful for you as always. You know, we consider you a good friend now, and we're always rooting for you from afar. Anything that you ever need, you know where to find us, reach out for us. We will do whatever we can to help you out. And yeah, you know, I hope this conversation lit a fire in you and reminded you that you're stronger than you think.
I love being part of this journey.
Yeah. So like I said, share this episode with somebody who needs it. You know, there's somebody out there. Make sure you tag that, the Buff Runner, Ostrich Running, and we can see, you know, where you're listening from, and make sure, like I mentioned, you follow Mason. He's got a lot of big challenges coming up, big things coming up. He's really a staple in the community. All of these, you know, links will be shared in the bio of the show notes. And, you know, whatever your version of hard looks like, just keep showing up. I think that's the important thing. Whatever it is, just keep showing up. And we appreciate you. Until next time, cue that outro music.
Baka!